whatever. Hey, what's that? Okay, this could work. Okay, hello there. Ooh, my hair is not done, as you can see, but I am about to retwist my hair. I may not do all of it right now, but we're gonna start on it. Um, Before we do that, let's do a little meditation. Let's do a little breathing. Okay, so we're gonna take a deep inhale. We're going to engage our diaphragm. So we're literally gonna imagine us breathing the roots and the that give us oxygen. We're breathing that deep. We're gonna imagine it go all the way to our lungs, travel to our brain, and then we're going to slowly exhale it out. We're gonna make it slow and sultry and soulful. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, inhale. Exhale. Y'all ready to do that again? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, inhale. Exhale. If you haven't taken a moment to pause and be with your breath today, I highly recommend it. So yeah, I'm currently in Colombia, and last night, so I'm about to start my menstrual cycle, and usually whenever I'm in that and menstrual stage, of course, as a girl, you get more emotional because of hormones, like hello. But for me specifically, I started to think about specifically my place in this world as a woman, specifically in the context of dating and romantic relationships and desirability politics, all that stuff. Like, I tend to think about that. Like, it never fails since I've been like, I want to say like 23 or something. It's never failed. I've always thought about those things, and it always makes me emotional. You know, if you can relate, I hope my comments are on, so people can comment. But if you're a black girl, or if you're just a girl in general, do you think deeply about your self-esteem, your self-image, your sense of being desired when you're on your period or when you're close to your period, that luteal phase? Let me know, because it never fails for me. It's a thing. This time though, I noticed that it didn't make me emotional in like a draining way, because sometimes it could do that. Like, it makes you go into a space of critique, and you start, hey Bookie, and you start to think about like the things that could be better and the things that you want to experience differently. XYZ and the third. Anyway, I feel like I'm talking in circles, child. But what I'm getting to is that I am in my late 20s now. I don't know why I'm saying that. Child, this is my last year in my 20s. And I've just learned so much. This particular time, I was reflecting on my years of experience as a girl, as a woman, as a black girl, as a black woman, as a black young lady. I've been thinking about those years and those experiences, what they taught me about the world, what they taught me about myself. And I just wanted to talk a little about that, since, you know, we are in Colombia. And since we are in Black History Month, you know, because we're black. Girl, I'm about to retwist my hair. I can't read the full name. I can't see the suburbs of the suburbs of Atlanta. I was around so many black people. I mean, it was a joy, it was a gift, it was a blessing, it was a privilege to be surrounded by my people in that way, and in such an eclectic way. And when I say eclectic, I mean it was proven that black people aren't a monolith. Like, though my parents did want to expose us to particular kind of black people, it still was just like there was all kind of black people that we saw, in Atlanta growing up. And they would get to festivals, like music festivals, art festivals, food just cultural festivals. Like, my parents were big on making sure that culturally, as black young kids in these bodies with this consciousness, that we had a level of connection to what it means to be black and to be a descendant of Afro people. And so, hello, hola. And so that is something that I've always been grateful for in my upbringing, and is that I got to native of Savannah, Georgia. Okay, come on, Savannah. Here he is. Savannah, stand up. Savannah is beautiful, first of all. Like, anybody try and come for Savannah, let them know what it is and what it ain't, because Savannah is a beautiful place. Like, I actually would love to do a little road trip again there this spring. Anyways, yeah, so my parents were very intentional about that, you know what I mean? And like, positive imagery of black people, and like, I mean, they used to take us to lectures about, what it means to have identity as a black person, and how we need to be proud of that, and how there is, the systems in America that is trying to like tear us down. Like, just very black and conscious, you know what I mean? And I bring all that up to say I give that context because I think it's important to recognize that when you have parents that love you and do engage you in a loving way, and even tell you you're beautiful and show you all the shades of beauty as a black person, you can still end up feeling othered being a black person, growing up in these public systems, growing up with these public ideals and concepts and constructs of, what the standard of beauty is. You know what I mean? So I say that because they're not, I don't know if the word is mutually exclusive. I don't think that's it. But they don't cancel each other out. You know what I mean? Like, just because I grew up seeing beautiful black people, I'm talking about like hair like mine, locks. I mean, my mom had locks growing up, literally down her butt. Beautiful, I saw girls with African, like different tribal hair designs, just all things, you feel me? But that still didn't move me from being a victim. And I say that lightly because that's not my identity. Like, I don't see myself that way. But it still didn't save me from feeling the pressures of the optics, of being a black girl. I remember one of the first things that I can remember being a young girl, a black girl. This was as early as middle school, when we really start to get into our bodies, and we really start to notice what do you call it? We really start to like, notice people's reactions and responses to us, to our beauty, to our body image. Like, we become more aware of it. We talk about it more. X, Y, Z, the third. If anyone is still here, can you let me know if you can hear me well? Because they're doing like something outside, like leaf blowing or something. But yeah, one of these was, can you hear me okay? If you're here, please don't leave yet. Let me know if my audio is okay. Okay, so one of my first memories, like I said, of being a black girl and being aware of people's awareness of beauty, like the focus of beauty, the conversation on beauty, was in middle school. And I remember there was this magazine. I can remember like it was yesterday. If I could paint, I would paint it. There was this magazine. We were in the cafeteria. These little boys, these little black boys, they took out the magazine and they were going through each page and they were talking about how each of the ladies looked. It was some like, it was some catalog though of, I want to say they were like models or something, because they were all headshots and they were all different shades of black. I don't think they were all black. I think they had other ethnicities too. But yeah, I remember vividly being in that little space and people, the boys and the girls, saying who was beautiful and who was not. And swear to you, none of the girls who looked like me, who were my skin tone and who had like my phenotype, they were not being called beautiful by the girls and the boys in my school. Now, you know, as an adult, you can think and say, well, who cares if your peers don't find your kind of beauty, your unique beauty, beautiful? But as a kid, I mean, developmentally, because y'all know I'm gonna bring that psychology background, because that's what I does. I study people, you know, I study relationships, I study our mind. As a kid, developmentally, that is one of the formative experiences, being accepted, you know, being a part of a team, feeling included. No one wants to be excluded or you know, rejected. So as a kid, yes, that was definitely a core memory of mine. I remember that. I remember how I felt in that moment where they, you know, ended up dogging the girls who looked like me from the magazine. Mind you, these were models, but of course, you know, I could chop that up to just like ignorance and very limited exposure. As a little girl also, I have memories of being told I was beautiful, you know, by people that were like of the community that my parents surrounded themselves around, which is, like I said, the very like black conscious community, those that intentionally engaged culture, you know, customs, traditions, saw Africa as the motherland, as the homeland, as the original birthplace. I mean, and we can look at history and say, well, that makes sense, because I mean, I'm in Colombia right now, and you know, you see Afro people, you see Afro descendants, you see people that look like me. I haven't seen that many because I just got here, but the point is that it's real because of you know, our indigenous. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, I also had experiences of being called beautiful and seeing people who look like me be called beautiful and feel beautiful, but still the dominant culture, you know, what the tale that was told in school and in the media is that if, you know, you're lighter skin or if you have these kind of features that didn't look like my features, you're beautiful, you know. And so I did not have the experience of you know what it means to have like kids have a crush on me and like feel beautiful until I was like in undergrad. Like I had crushes in middle school, high school. I was very much so an introvert, so that shit, like that wasn't even a thing. But in middle school I did have crushes, but I don't think I registered myself as beautiful. Like it wasn't necessarily a thing that I even thought about of me like being beautiful. It was just like I was there. and that was it. You know, like I was just like more focused on, I don't know, like being smart and cool, and I definitely wanted to dress well, but my parents weren't like they weren't focused on us having the latest and the greatest of outfits either. So it wasn't until college when I really was like sort of getting into myself as beautiful, and I think that is because of the HBCU experience. I think that is because of being amongst so many black girls that did look like me, that had my kind of style, that knew how to celebrate themselves. You know, I don't think I knew how to celebrate myself to the extent that I feel like I do now, early then. And yeah, so there was this constant unfortunate, struggle. Not like it was anything dire or anything, thank God. Like it didn't really like ruin my mental health or tarnish my mental health. But I had moments, I remember being called a monkey as a black girl. Like it was some sort of like cyber bullying kind of thing. Like it was a text message that was sent out to my classmates. That was some weird shit. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was by a black girl. It was by a black girl in the school. But needless to say, yeah, I like I said, I still call it a struggle because that's what it was. Like those were wounds of childhood, when it comes to self-image, and when it comes to feeling accepted and feeling celebrated by your peers. So I also wanted to mention that when I was in middle school, I had almost like this daydream fantasy. Um, and I've never said this on camera, like in public or anything like that. I've shared it with friends, but I used to have this daydream fantasy of me having a twin and us being like light skinned and like Puerto Rican. Like I promise you, bro. Like that was a vision of mine in middle school. And I used to imagine that, and I remember one of the other ways I used to imagine myself differently is going into the bathroom and then like being able to get my hair done differently. Like me, that being also a daydream of mine, like me fantasizing about having a certain kind of hair texture, having a certain kind of hairstyle. My parents, specifically my mom, because mom was the one who did our hair and stuff, she did not allow me to get a perm. My sister at some point, she did, because she was like of age and she wanted to like, you know, be independent and try it out herself. Tried it and never went back. So we always have natural girls. Um, but I remember just struggling. A lot of other black girls in my grade, in my school, did not wear their hair natural. They had it relaxed or perm. Like if it wasn't bone straight, it was like at least texturized, quote unquote. They call it like texturizers, which like really made your curls loose and wasn't anything natural about it. It was literally chemicals, and so their curls were a bit more like closer to the ideal image. It's not as kinky, not as coarse, not as afro. So like that was good. And I'm bringing this all to the present because how you perceive yourself, how you feel about yourself as a black girl will end up showing up in the way that you date and the way that you see yourself as a young black woman. And as this is my last year in my 20s and I've looked back, that's a lot of what I did actually on the plane here. I was reflecting on my 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 year of life and thinking about how my own self-image has transformed and also how it has been influenced by the media too, by desirability politics. I moved to Atlanta when I was 24, and that was a hot time in my life because it was a time where I was getting a level of attention from guys, like desire from guys, sexual desire from guys that I had never experienced before. And it was exciting for me because for so long when you're not like in that spotlight and you're not seen that way, it becomes very alluring and enchanting. At least for me it did, because it felt like a certain kind of void that I had when I was a black girl. Like those times when I wasn't getting the attention, when I wasn't being counted as, a subject of beauty, as, a prospect for a guy and his desires with the opposite sex. Like, because that wasn't a norm for me, I was so excited to receive it, in my early 20s and when I moved. And now that I'm no longer dating and I'm in a space of just really getting further deeply into myself and knowing who Nala is, the reflection, the look back is so wild because I look back and I'm like, bro, I I realized that like society, they put these expectations on us as young ladies to be the subject of desire for guys, for the patriarchy. And they say that it benefits us, or rather they demonstrate how it benefits us. And in some ways, of course there is this like material or superficial like societal gains that you get from it, obviously, because people, we operate everything. I mean, you go to the bank, you gotta go and talk to a person. You go to a festival, you gotta talk to a person. You wanna get into a specific job, you gotta talk, you know what I mean? So it's like, of course there's gonna be these benefits, these perks of fitting the desired image of what men, or what the patriarchy, or what the system, because I don't even want to say men, because all men don't have the same type, all men don't think the same, clearly. But when you have that, it definitely does give you it gives you a leverage, when you look at other women in other cultures, in other parts of the world, you see how they are moving from surviving to like having disposable income, or having like accessibility to resources and like exposure to different experiences, because they found a way to work the system. They found a way to leverage their beauty, whether it's through like glamour, as in makeup, clothing, or whether it's through surgery, you know what I mean? Like, there are very strategic tactics that girlies use all over the world because they see the systemic benefits of it. They see what it can do for them and how it can transform their life. And so I say that to say, I want to validate it. I want to validate all the girls of the world who have that desire, who have that craving to wanna, fit image, who want to be in that number. And I also want to say to them that it's not what it's all cracked up to be. You feel me? I'm not even in certain images. I'm not even, I don't even fit levels of images as far as like patriarchy standards. But the ways that like I've been sexually desired and the ways that I have experienced what it means to be desired is a very shallow game. And those perks, those benefits of, working the system out of the optics of being a beautiful woman is very far. Literally, it only goes so far. You realize that like the guys that are attracted to you, that are desiring you in that way, which is a very, surface level way, they're they don't have much to offer you other than just the physical, components. They have nothing much else to offer you but, just talking about the way you look and focusing on the way you look, and it is just not of substance. And I read a comment on Reddit the other day, because I'll be reading comments on Reddit, and actually this is the reason why I started thinking about all this stuff, because there was a sister on there talking about how she struggles, she's like 20, how she struggles to not feel comfortable in her skin because she's been so hyper exposed to the starter packet of what a baddie is, to she's been so hyper exposed to that being the ideal look, that being the ideal image of how a girl needs to be seen and then welcomed and accepted and celebrated. Like, these are your requirements, basically, within the system of patriarchy, to have that attention from guys, to have that celebration. But like, they don't ever break it down that like it's not anything soul based. Like, they don't ever break it down and really go into the nuance of it. Like, and that's how you know it's a trick. That's how you know it's a floozy, because they'll sell you, just like in Hollywood, the glitz and the glams and everything that looks good, the glamour, but behind the scenes shit is broken down. People are broken down. People are struggling. Their self-esteem is predicated on people's perception of them, people's reaction to them, people's acceptance. And yeah, like it's a very, very, very weak and brittle foundation to have one's self-esteem based on. And I just think it's important for us to talk about more often, because the systems are very real. The beauty industry, the marketing industry is still working very, very hard to sell us these images, sell us these starter packages of who we need to be, how we need to look, when by nature we are so diverse, just like the nature in front of me. Like, let me show you. None of it looks the same. And it's all so beautiful. None of it looks the same, and it's all so beautiful. None of it looks the same, and it's all so beautiful. You know what I mean? And I just jumped over the place, child. I'm also like operating on maybe 4 hours of sleep, maybe probably 3. So stick with shouting. But I was saying that on the Reddit, the 20-year-old black girl was saying how she struggles with her self-image because of being hyper exposed to the baddie aesthetic, being full face of makeup, having the tits, having the ass, showing some sort of body part, giving that seductive flair, that seductress flair, probably having a lace front or having your hair snatched, XYZ in the third, right? So she's struggling with that. And one of the comments of her post said, do you know what kind of men do you want to attract? Like, do you even know the kind of men that you want to attract into your own little bubble? Because if you don't know the kind of men you want to attract into your own little bubble, if you focus on a certain aesthetic, a certain image, an image that communicates something to the world, then it is going to attract certain kind of people who look for certain kind of images, who then put a value, and a meaning to certain images. Like, if you saw someone, for an example, who had on um a mailman or a male woman uniform, you would think that they're a mailman, right? So if there's an image of, the quote unquote baddie aesthetic, there are going to be people who are attracted to that image who are going to assume certain things about you. Now, can we control that? No. Like, I actually don't like that part of society, and I'm very like conscious of that part of myself too, about how I can project certain things on certain people just by like how they look. But I also think it's very fascinating to consider um how marketing and how storytelling about certain images, like how certain ways we look, are have certain correlations, and how that basically is ingrained in our mind. And so whenever we see people out in the world, that's what we end up seeing them as. Like, whether it's typecast, whether it's stereotype, whether it's profiling, whether it's projection, um, whatever it is, it's just a real thing. So I just thought that was a very powerful question to ask her. What kind of men, because that's what her post was focused on. It was focused on a lot of like, I want to look like the baddie aesthetic. I know that's not truly me, and I don't feel natural when I try and make myself look that way, but I see the attention that the girls get, and it makes me, want to look like that. Now, I will say she prefaced that, she is aware that due to her father's absence, she has this craving for, male attention, male, validation. But I just share with you all that for me, I had my mom and my dad. I still do, thankfully. And they still pour into me and uplift me, not in like a grandiose way, but just like in a, yeah, like, we love you, we support you, we see you, we celebrate you. You're amazing at what you do and who you are. And they exposed me to the black beauties of the world, that look like me. And I still struggled, I still struggled. And in my early 20s, I found myself moving towards playing and performing in the beauty politics. And it was because I was seeking out the rewards being the attention, the rewards being the validation. Like, would I say that I was like 200% conscious of like the ins and the outs of it all? No, I wouldn't say that, but like, I was at least informed that, these are the that come with the lifestyle, the glamour lifestyle. Like, it's something, like I said, is sold to you and is packaged to you as such a positive and love. I don't even sorry, a positive and like fabulous thing. But like I said, it's really nothing. There's nothing about uh, just the patriarchy. There's just nothing fabulous about it. Like, for sure, there's probably moments fabulous, for sure, but as far as like the essence of it, the spirit of it, the energy of it, the lifelong circumstances that could come of it, if that is truly the lifestyle that you just delve into, it is not fabulous, and so it is a scam. It is bamboozlement. You know what I mean? It is ludicrous Ludiocracy, the way that we really have allowed these systems, to tell us about ourselves. And for a moment, I did allow it, and I'm at this point where, like, things are so clear for me. Things are so clear for me as a Black woman who is getting to know herself deeply, what she likes, what she's interested in, what she's curious about, who she likes to have in her inner circle, what kind of energy she wants to be around on the day to day, her unique beauty, and celebrating that. Like, that's so real. And I want to pose y'all